The International Air Transport Association, IATA, has said travel restrictions are easing worldwide as the vaccination rates are increasing each day. According to the association, travel restrictions that were imposed in order to halt the spread of the COVID-19 pandemic had been suppressing passenger demand and delaying travel recovery. However, during the fourth quarter of 2021, which at the same time is the final quarter of the year, several countries have started to loosen their travel restrictions. The easing of travel rules has contributed to the immediate uptake in booking activity in the majority of markets and is expected to support international passenger demand over the upcoming weeks. But as the world is opening back up and more flights are taking to the skies, the problem that international airlines are having with repatriating their funds could threaten how Africa's aviation sector rebounds in the aftermath of COVID-19. Foreign airlines operating in and out of Nigeria have taken their protest to the Central Bank of Nigeria over difficulties in repatriating accumulated funds. These funds now stand in excess of 328.8 billion naira, around $800 million. The IATA in August said approximately $963 million in airline funds are being blocked from repatriation in nearly 20 countries. 4 countries, Bangladesh, Lebanon, Nigeria, and Zimbabwe, accounted for over 60% of the stuck funds. Today, we're looking at the standoff between foreign airlines and African countries. I'm Tolilokwe Adeleru Balogun. Welcome. This is Business Edge. Joining me today is Olumide Ohuayo, aviation consultant and analyst. Olumide, thank you so much for joining me on Business Edge. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
All right, so let's start with the why of this conversation. So the International Air Transport Association says close to $1 billion is trapped across 20 countries and not just African countries. So why? Why are 20 countries holding on to foreign airline funds and refusing to allow these airlines to repatriate the money they've made?
Well, this is not the first time that is happening, and it's not about the second or third time. Countries always have issues. When they have issues with the foreign currency, monetary crisis in the economy, it affects repatriation of foreign airline revenue. Venezuela is notorious for this. Now, if you look at the list, now you have Lebanon and Iraq. So it happens. And Nigeria, this is about the second time we're going to that list. Second or third time, if I get it right. I think about third time. There's nothing to hide here. We have the forest crisis in Nigeria right now with this plural rate at the foreign currencies are moving against the naira. So what the country needs is see how they can mop up foreign currency and get it into the market so that to bring down the rates to the naira. But unfortunately, in working around this policy, the remittance for the foreign carriers will be affected. You remember, they are the ones dominating our international route. The Nigerian airlines are not partaking. They're still restricted to the domestic route and maybe one or two West Coast routes. And since the foreign airlines are dominating, that's why we're in this mess. I think, as usual, we will definitely remit those funds. It might just take some time.
Okay, so you talked a bit about the reason behind why we're seeing and having it, and it largely having to do with monetary policy as well as liquidity in the market. So I would be curious to know, there are about 17 African countries that are guilty of this. Out of the 20 worldwide, it seems to be 17, and they include Algeria, Angola, Ethiopia, Malawi, Zimbabwe, and Nigeria. Are the reasons the same from country to country? Let's just clear that up. We know what Nigeria's forex liquidity challenges are right now. Are the reasons the same?
No, they're not. They're not. But the common decimal to all of them is what I told you about the liquidity crisis and having forex to enough for usage for themselves, and before talking about giving their commitment to other organizations or state agencies that require those funds that are supposed to be remitted. So oftentimes when such funds come, they tend to cause attend to the immediate needs, while giving a promissory note of repatriating those funds or sending those funds, or at times using a trade-off with some other aspects of the economy for such funds. For some countries, it's not because of others have to do with security, instability in the country, the concurrent wars, and so many of that is. And if you look at Lebanon from that list, since Lebanon had that fire dump at the port, and which sent so much fire and the crisis that came up, they've not been able to build their economy back. So, but in our own case, we are starting because of the crunch in the forex market. We're not able to resolve the spiral rise, and at the stage, we now began to look for forex to bring down the rate of exchange, which we really need to strengthen our economy and even the aviation industry. And I think that's why we've been in this lane before. It's not new. We overcame it. We paid later, and not as usual. What they expect, the airlines will threaten they are going to withdraw services, and with that, what they actually pushing for is to have permission to start selling at not selling naira anymore, selling foreign currency when all the issues are resolved.
All right, I think a technical challenge there. So I'm going to think we have to go on a break to sort this out. When we come back, this conversation will continue. We also have to definitely touch base with how this is affecting the average passenger who is attempting to fly. Stay with us. This is Business Edge. My guest today is Olumide Ohunayo, aviation consultant and analyst, as we look at the issue of foreign airlines struggling to repatriate their funds out of African countries, including Nigeria, Angola, Zimbabwe, Malawi, Algeria, and others. Now, Olumide, I do believe we have you on the phone line now.
Yes.
Fantastic, no problem. So we've talked about the why of this, and not every country's reason is the same from Nigeria to all the other countries. So we've discussed the why. I want to get into the how. How are these funds actually stuck? Because you would consider the kind of contractual obligations, legal backings and legal issues that might be surrounding countries refusing to have these funds repatriated. So is there a how part of this conversation that you can clear up for us?
Can you speak that again, please?
So the how are these funds being held back from the airlines?
Okay, so what happens after sales of tickets, which are mostly done in Naira, these funds are now taken to the bank, and with the use of central bank, the central bank can start to facilitate the repatriation of this money into the currency of the airline. Those are paid in dollars, equivalent, and pounds, euro, depending on what the airline in question request for. So that's how the money got into central bank. The money is not that every the agents or the airlines are owing the money. The money is already out of the airline's account. It's put in central bank. For example, the central bank to remit this form. But like we said earlier on, because of what we are going through right now, and other issues related to the monetary policy and monetary crisis within, and playing out right now, there's this delay in remitting, not refusal to remit. It's delayed. Let us get it clear. It is delayed.
Okay.
The money will be remitted, but it will be delayed and probably be remitted in cash. And nothing wrong. But you see, like I said before, I think the most important thing for us now is to see how we can get our airlines to start participating in international flight operations. Because if we have our airlines there participating and be part of the game, the amount that are now remitted to these foreign airlines will reduce. But because we're not participating, we're not playing in the international market, we have almost 98% of the revenue from international flights are going for airlines, and ultimately they're remitted out of the country.
Okay. So as you said now, you've cleared it up that it's not a refusal to remit the funds. It's a delay, particularly like in the case of Nigeria with the liquidity forex issue that the country is facing. So as you said earlier, this has happened before. It happened in 2017. And at that point, it was about $221 million that was trapped in Nigeria, and across the continent, it was about $1.2 billion. So now coming here, the foreign airlines have approached the central bank in terms of getting their funds back. And the airlines, which number about 30, have about 328.8 billion naira, about $800 million stuck in the country. They've said that there are difficulties in repatriating earned revenue through an official window approved by government. So after complaining to the CBN, has there been a timeline that has been worked out? Is there been anything that has been agreed in terms of these airlines getting their delayed funds?
Normally, well, yes, they've complained individually. They've gone to their body, the IATA, the International Station, IATA, to make complaints. And at one point, even at the point, it went all the way to the presidency to present their demands. At this point, Nigeria said they were not going to remit it. All, like I said earlier, was that an arrangement was made of how and when this force will come in, and like I said, it will not all be sent at the same time. It will come in transit. But in order to put pressure on the government and Nigeria, the body the airlines under the aegis of the IATA are now coming out with this threat of pulling out of Nigeria, and also asking that if they don't pull out, flight schedules will be reduced. And when this is done, fares will continue, it would rise, because there are too many passengers chasing the few seats. And when this happens, they might not be selling in naira, so they will reduce the amount of funds that are being trapped. But you see, a country like Venezuela have had all these issues for the past 10 years, if not more. And the opponent islands have not left. They threatened, they left and came back. So but they will always have the way around it. That I can assure you. Yeah, okay. I'm going nowhere. That I can tell you.
It's interesting that you say the airlines are going nowhere. So this threat of service withdrawal, you think that it really has, it's not going to come or amount to much. It's simply a bargaining chip that the airlines are throwing out there. So you really don't think there will be a walkthrough, a push through to make that threat happen if money by a certain point in time, if the delayed funds are not released by a certain point in time?
Well, you see, the airlines might probably, the worst you can expect from them might probably be to reduce frequency. And the frequency will reduce maybe for the days or entry points whereby they're not having the full passenger, the load factor is not full. So the process, rather than continue, because it's not all the flights that are full. Some of them are not full. They just want to stand by the air service agreement just to sustain it. Now, when you're in a period whereby your costs are trapped and you're not getting it enough, the first thing you do is to reduce your cost. And in reducing that cost, some of those frequencies might now be cut, so that the fewer they have a full load factor and can be profitable for them in the short run. So I expect such areas, and probably that's what some of the airlines will do. Like I tell you, airlines like British Airways, Virgin Atlantic, Qatar Airways, who have high occupancy on all routes and on all flights, will probably not go through that route. It will probably be those who are operating maybe 3 or 4 flights a week, and then out of this, maybe it's only 2 that is using a high load factor for them. They are the ones that might cut the flight. But I tell you, all airlines will get their funds. None of those funds will be trapped in Nigeria forever. That I can guarantee you. And the airlines know. The only thing they are looking for is a quicker remittance rather than the projected or the agreed method.
Okay, so as I said, about 17 African countries have money or are delaying payments, as it may be, to foreign airlines. When you look at the list of countries, is there anyone in particular that surprises you? You have Ethiopia, Eritrea, Algeria, Angola, Nigeria, Zimbabwe, Malawi, 17 African countries. Is this of surprise to you? With Nigeria, we've talked about the fact that this is not the first time it has happened. The stance with other countries is slightly different. And we've also talked about the fact that everybody's reason is not the same. With Nigeria, it's a liquidity and the forex matter. For some countries, it's a security situation. Is there any country on this list with delayed foreign airline funds that surprises you?
Well, I can, like, you see, you remember there was a pandemic. And that pandemic kept grounded almost all airlines, and also African economies were also in shambles due to the pandemic. So I'm not really surprised. You mentioned maybe Angola and Egypt. I didn't expect them to be on that list. Those two have something going for them. But then, Angola, the 1 year pandemic did not allow oil sales of oil, as all transport modes were grounded. So revenue was also affected. It affected the revenue stream, every stream. But you see, have no fear, and that's all the foreign airlines do. That almost all the countries do not negate to it, and we are not the first. Most of Asian financial crisis also had the same issues related to such funds. They are not much because their airlines are participating in international flights. But also had the same thing, and everybody at the time met up with their commitments of reducing this fund, and it was done. Nigeria will meet up. I have no fear like that. And most of those African countries. My only fear might be Zimbabwe. And I can tell you that oftentimes, if you want to buy in Zimbabwe, a boy buy a flight to Zimbabwe, the family has to pay it for it rather than pay it.
Okay, so while you have no fear that African countries will settle their debts, will move forward with paying foreign airlines the funds that they have earned in their countries, there's still the issue of the passengers. And we know that in between that time, there's going to be some kind of concession possibly given to these airlines while the delay is on. So what has been the consequence, or what do you anticipate could be the consequence for passengers as long as these funds are delayed?
Well, like I said before, what I see now is that the fares like will probably jack up a bit for the tickets on some of those routes for those airlines that are involved. Also, they might once they reduce frequency, passengers would also have to pay or book ahead a lot to ensure that they get seats. And in getting seats now, most of the cheap fares will no longer be available. It's the first class, business class, and maybe the full economy have been made available once the squeeze capacity on the road. Then I'm not sure I have is that for most of the fare class now, you might see them refusing to accept naira or not offering the ones in naira or just offering the ones in dollars. So that when you see such kids, you have to choose that if you need to meet with an appointment or get to a place where before a deadline, you're now forced to use somebody to maybe outside the country get it picked at that rate.
Okay, so Olumide, you believe that this is going to be resolved. It's just a delay. It's not a refusal to remit the funds. You also believe that the threats are just what they are, threats. So I want to ask now, how lucrative is the airspace over Nigeria? How lucrative is the African aviation industry as it may be? We've seen some leave and many others come in. We've also seen a resurgence of national carriers. We've seen the dominance of Ethiopia Airlines. We've seen South African Airways coming back into the skies as well. But it's also about making profit. These are businesses that get into these businesses and these airspaces to make money. So overall, how lucrative do you think the African aviation space is going to be in order to even keep and grow more airlines like we're seeing?
Well, Ethiopian Airlines remain the success story of the region. They're the only, not that they're about the only profitable airline, as it were. Others are just struggling and trying to meet with their national responsibility. Southern Airways is coming from ground zero and I'm trying to relaunch. I wish them success. But I'll be more interested in Nigeria. In Nigeria now we are having 2 or 3 new airlines coming on board, And just last week and this week, two of our airlines, Overland Airways and Ibom Air, went to the Dubai Air Show and bought brand new aircraft. Ibom bought 10, while Overland bought 6. And that's a good development. Now, what I just hope that can happen for us now is that we should rather see how we can support this airline. Also release the AOC, the Air Operating Certificate of NG Eagle. I think the DGSCA should release that AOC with immediate effect. I think that is slowing down some development in the industry. But if that airline joins the fray, they will now begin to look at how we can consolidate some of them or commercial partnership within them, so they can begin to look beyond operating domestic market and begin to enter international market. The role of government in all of this is that when you give an airline the authority to fly to another point or to another country, that airline, irrespective of its ownership or its location within Nigeria, becomes your flag carrier on that route and must be protected and supported with all diplomatic power. That has been lacking, and that needs to be revisited.
All right, so Lumide, we'll end it there for now. There is a lot more to be said. The skies are opening back up, more flights. Who's going to be taking to the skies next? Who's going to increase their routes? Who's going to increase their vessels as well? And how much rebounding will Africa's aviation industry make? And we've touched base with the issue of the funds, the support in the wake of COVID-19 and how many airlines and members of the industry have gotten that. And not a lot, but we continue to look forward to seeing the support, as you said, from governments and, of course, more greater things for African flag carriers and African airlines taking to the skies. Olumide Ohio, thank you so much for joining me on Business Edge.
Thank you for having me.
All right. And as he made very clear, this is not a conversation about a denial of the funds. It's about a delay. But some would say that denial and delay are almost the same thing when people have earned their money and they have not been able to get that money out. You're watching Business Edge. We'll be following up with this to see how it plays out. But what we're following are a few other stories we want you to keep your eyes on. NC4 to Watch is up next. And as we tell you the stories we're keeping our eyes on, we start in Zimbabwe, where the International Monetary Fund has announced that it is prohibited from providing financial support to the country due to its unsustainable debts and external arrears, and any lending arrangement would require a clear path to a comprehensive restructuring of the African country's external debt. Kenya's government has announced plans to offer a third economic stimulus package worth 26.2 billion Kenyan shillings, seeking to aid the recovery of the key economic sectors affected by the COVID-19 pandemic. Now, this will bring the total stimulus package to more than 79.9 billion Kenyan shillings, with the government having spent about 53.7 billion in the first stimulus program, which was launched in March 2020. And that was followed by a number of relief measures in the second phase in May of last year. Number 3 on our list, the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation has signed a 5-year agreement for funds worth $1.04 billion with the African Export-Import Bank at the ongoing Intra-African Trade Fair in Durban, South Africa. The deal is said to be mainly for trade financing and exports of crude produced by the NNPC. And finally, some funding commitment has been made for Ghana, that is. Now, the Ireland multinational oil and gas corporation, Tullow Oil, has reiterated its forecast for a full-year free cash flow of $100 million on the back of operating cash flow of $600 million as it focuses spending on its producing fields offshore Ghana. Follow us on social media. We are at News Central TV. Look for us on YouTube and subscribe. And of course, download our mobile app and take us with you wherever you go. We have a date, 11 a.m. West African time, talking the biggest business, financial, and economic stories from here on the continent. I'm Tolu Lokwe. Adelaru Balogun. Have a fantastic day.